All right, you guys, last one of 1B. We're looking at 1-7, transformations in our coordinate plane. Before we get started here with our warm-up, Spanish teacher says, why didn't you translate your verb?
Student says, I did. I moved it 3 inches right and 2 inches down. That doesn't make a lot of sense right now because we're talking about translations.
You get it. All right, you guys, you got 3 problems for a warm-up. You go ahead and do these, and then we'll come back together. All right, you guys. The first one asks you, does this line contain the point? Remember, your point is a coordinate of x and y here. So all you have to do is plug in your x for x, your y for y to see if it works. A, of course, will work. If you plug in 4 for x and 2 for y, does 2 equal 8 minus 6? Of course it does. And B was no. When you plug in 1, -2, you will not get 12. In number 2, you want to find the midpoint. Remember, this is just an average of your x's and average of your y's. So you add your x's divided by 2, add your y's divided by 2, and you end up with 3, 2. And the last one, distance formula, you should have labeled x1, y1, x2, y2. You should have gotten the square root of 90, which is about, remember those squigglies mean about or approximately, 9.5. All right, you guys, getting on to our notes here. We're going to talk about transformations. Transformations are a change in the position, the size, or the shape of the figure. What you originally see is called your pre-image. So the figure that you start out with is called your pre-image, the original figure. And then the resulting figure, what happens after your transformation, is actually called your image. Okay? A transformation maps the pre-image to the image. So you have your image here. This is what we start with, our triangle ABC. And what happens is it'll go through this transformation, either the change of position, size, or shape, and what'll pop out is your image. I want you to notice we start with triangle ABC, and we end up with triangle A prime, B prime, C prime. And the reason why is because the points are related, but they're not exactly the same. So you can't call them ABC again. They've gone through this transformation. They've gone through a change, and so they're not exactly ABC anymore, but they're related. This is called mapping, going from one to the other, and this is how it's represented. You would say triangle ABC has been mapped to triangle A prime, B prime, and C prime. There are 3 different types of transformations. The first type of transformation is a reflection. This is when a figure is flipped over a line. Reflection. It gets flipped over the line. Each point and its image are the same distance from the line of the reflection. That means, here's my original image, ABC up here. A has to be the exact same distance to the line as A prime. Same with B and B prime, and then C and C prime. Reflection gets flipped over a line. The second type of transformation is a rotation. This is when a figure gets turned around a fixed point. So rotation gets turned around a fixed point. So here's my original image, my triangle JKL. And what happens is it gets turned a certain degree around that point. So JKL gets mapped over to J prime, K prime, L prime. All right, and the last and final of our transformations is called a translation. This is when a figure is just simply slid into a new position. You don't turn it, you don't flip it. So the translation gets slid or a slide into a new position. So in this case, I've got triangle RST. This is my pre-image, and we're sliding it down into the right to its new position. So it's getting mapped over to triangle R prime, S prime, and T prime. These are the 3 types of transformations that we're going to work with. Make sure you get to know them. Make sure you know how they work. Make sure that you remember that reflection is flipped, rotation turned, and translation gets slid. All right, so these first examples, I want you to simply identify the transformation, use an arrow for notation. I would also like for you to write out the mapping for me, please. Okay, so this first one, if you take a look, you should notice that this is actually a reflection. There's actually a line cutting down the center here that's reflecting my pre-image to my image. So my pre-image is actually triangle P and M. Okay, notice they're the same distance from the line, and we are getting mapped over, so we're flipping over this line to triangle P prime, N prime, and M prime. Okay, so this again is a reflection. It was flipped. I would like for you to try the next one, and then we'll come back to it. Alright, you guys, for this last one, or this next one I should say, you should have realized that this was a rotation. It is a turn around a fixed point, and we went from rectangle A, B, C, D to rectangle A prime, B prime, C prime, and D prime.
For this example, we're going to talk about triangle HJK, and they're giving you what the vertices for that triangle would be. So they're actually giving you the coordinates, and they want you to tell them what the vertices would be after a translation. Remember, a translation is sliding it, and they're giving you a rule to follow by. They're saying the original point that you have, what we're going to do to it is we're going to transform it by a translation, and we're going to move the x's to the left 1 unit and the y's down 3 units. That's what -1 means, is left for the x's, and what -3 means is down 3 units. If I was adding to the x's, I'd be moving right. If I was adding to the y's, I'd be moving up. So what we're going to do is we're going to actually copy down what those original points were, and that way it'll be nice and clean on our paper. So I've got H was 0, -9, J was -1, -5, and K was 7, 8. So let's start off with H. Now with this H, what we're going to do is we're going to take our x coordinate that we had, and we're actually going to subtract 1 from it. So we're going to apply the rule. So I'm going to take 0 minus 1, and then we're going to do the same thing, but this time we're going to do the rule for the y to the y coordinate, and the y coordinate was -9 minus 3. So with that, we end up getting H prime, which is our new point for H. That's in our image, and we end up getting a -1, -12. Why don't you go ahead and try the other points out, and we'll see if we end up getting the same answers. So, taking a look at J prime, hopefully you ended up getting a -2, -8. And for K prime, you ended up getting a 6, 5. So remember, when you're doing translation and they give you a rule like this, pay attention. It's telling you exactly what you should be doing to your X values and what you should be doing to your Y values. So for my answer, this is what I'm looking for. I'm looking for you to list all of those new coordinates. And the next example we're going to be using is the figure here. I got figure 1 and figure 2. And what we want to do is we want to figure out what is the relationship between figure 1 and figure 2. So here are your choices. You're going to determine, is figure 2 a translation of figure 1? Is it a rotation of 180 degrees? Is it a vertical reflection? Or is it a horizontal reflection? Think about those. Come up with a decision. And we'll see if we ended up matching. So the answer that I'm going to put down is B. It's a rotation of 180 degrees. It's not a translation because we didn't just slide it over and get the same exact figure. And it's not a reflection because there was no flip really vertically or horizontally. So the only one that works was the 180 degree rotation because we turned it. So of course we got a word problem. In this word problem we've got Coach Nelson, and he's designing a new part that will have both a baseball diamond and a softball diamond. And the baseball diamond has the same dimensions, same exact dimensions as my softball diamond. And we've got the diagram of the park below with the actual placement of the softball diamond. So the question is, if we are determining the position of the baseball field by reflecting the softball diamond across the line y equals x, if we're doing a reflection across this line of this figure, what are the coordinates of the reflected point C going to be? So we want to figure out where is that going to occur. So take a second and look at the answers that have been given to you below and try to figure out which of those actually makes the most sense. Once you figure that out, we're going to go ahead and have you pause the video and then check back with me. So the answer I ended up picking was C, which is -9, 3. And the reason why is, if you work through this, A was the point 39. So if I go to 3, 9, that's all the way up here. If we're doing a reflection of this figure, I'm looking for something that looks like this. And the point C prime should happen somewhere around here. Okay? So if I did that reflection, it doesn't make any sense for us to have a 3, 9 sitting up here. Okay, so then B, if it's 9, -3, 9, -3 sits down here. That's not a reflection, that's not going to work. C is a -9, 3. That works out pretty well for us. So I'm thinking it's C, just double checking with the D. D was a -3, -9. That throws us all the way down. That doesn't make any sense whatsoever. So that's why our answer is C. Make sure you do your whisk, and we'll see you tomorrow.